Okay, let's call this a trial run. Right now it's just after 6:20 in the morning for me, and I am excited about continuing with these hours of design and game design discussion, game discussion, whatever's happening. And this will be a little more of what it's like if I if I need to continue or if I get to continue, which I expect I will, as the school year really gets going. So tomorrow will be my first day subbing, and at Mauna Lua, and Mauna Lua is like 10 minutes from my apartment. It's gonna be really quick to get over there, so that's great. Um, and and they start class at 8:30. So anyway, I'm really hoping to get to bed early-ish at least. I think I slept just after 11. I was hanging out in Kailua with some friends last night, and anyway, I'll get to that in a second. But um, got home, killed a cockroach that was crawling in the um in the space between the screen and the grate of my screen door. So that was a brand new little experience. Never done that before. And then, um, anyway, slept by like 11:15. Um, I think I was awake by 5:45 ish this morning. And anyway, it's just kind of a sample. Like I'll see how it goes today. Actually, I have a pretty full day. I'll be heading over to the Marine Corps base to lead music for their chapel. And the thing is, the Blue Angels are in town. They've been here, I think, at least all weekend, maybe all week or something like that. And they've been doing shows at the Marine Corps base. And so my understanding is, I was planning on being over there by like 9:30, and somebody who lives on base suggested that I try to aim to be there as I think my understanding is of the situation. I should leave as if I would arrive by 8. That's their suggestion because traffic is going to be crazy. I guess there's a back gate, but anyway, it's just one long stretch of road that ends at the gate of the Marine Corps base. I guess there's a couple of entrances, but yeah, he's expecting that the traffic is going to be super nuts. So, so I thought, okay, I need to make sure, I'm leaving here by around 7:30. Well, that's probably not going to happen. But 7:45, if I'm a little late for practice or whatever, or hopefully the traffic is not as bad as he thinks. Right now, everything's green. But this is all to say, this is going to be basically what it feels like to be streaming during the school year anyway. Because I left, sometimes I leave home around 7:45. So ideally, I have a really simple morning routine. It's just make a coffee, have a bagel, like avocado toast style. Um, Maybe make an egg, but that's basically it. That's what my mornings have been. Maybe cut a nice slice of watermelon and get out the door. So I guess lunch is a question. I haven't really done any shopping for lunch for school, so I need to figure that out. Actually, what I default to at school has been just to make 1 or 2 packs of ramen, like kind of a. It's not fancy, but it's like a. Oh, my connection is not great. What's going on here? Hmm. Yikes! It's really dropping a lot. I can see. Frames wise. I wonder if it is the case everywhere. It must be. Because at some point I know they'll, I think visible is at some point going to slow me down. I think that's part of the idea. Anyway, so again, this is the trial run for the school year. I'm just excited to be up working on stuff. Had a nice experience last night. I've been telling people my favorite game is whatever game fits the group best. That's the gold standard of games, is whatever game fits the group best. Because my thing is, I think everybody fundamentally, as humans, we enjoy play. But I had a little exchange with a friend of mine over the weekend, or last couple of days, just a little micro exchange, and it was kind of about. She sent a video about how, what was it? It was something like, somebody. Oh, it was like the friend who kind of acts like they're not having a good time during games. Anyway, it's a really funny, dramatic video. And the thing is, I actually think there's real truth to this thing where somebody will come into a situation, a new experience, and they have expectations about it. It could be anything. They have expectations about it, and they expect not to like it. And then when they actually start enjoying it, they put up such a stink, such a resistance for such a long time that now they feel like their kind of pride is at stake, where now their friend or whoever it is going to be able to hang that over their heads and say, I told you this whole time you were going to like it. And then the person, they kind of have to put up this they have to present this performance that like they really didn't really like it, whatever it was. It was okay, but whatever. It's not the greatest thing in the world. And I'm actually expecting that a little bit on Thursday. I'll be teaching a game to somebody who I think is really going to like it. And I think at the same time, I think she'll find some motivation to sort of not like it. And it'll be really interesting. Anyway. Yeah, so we had this exchange and me, my friend kind of thinking through that dynamic of somebody, in this case, and in my case in general, I can see that this was about games and this person that actually starts like enjoying their turns during the game. It is a really cool feeling when somebody, to start to understand a system better and start to perform with more intention, mental agility, your problem solving, and that starts to feel really good. And so I know that about games. I know that that's the kind of thing that games often invite. It's creative thinking, and you get stronger as you play. The more you become familiar with the systems at hand, it feels good. And so in a way, playing games is chasing that feeling. Chasing something like familiarity and mastery from zero. Well, now that, for me, I've played a lot of games, and so it's very rare that some system will be completely new. It's very rare at this point. I mean, it's certainly still possible. But that, I've never seen anything like this before. Like, that's going to be fairly unusual. But anyway, so from the beginning, from learning a new game. In fact, I'm going to be playing a big game this afternoon that I'm intimidated by. But like learning, I've been watching videos and stuff. But what I'm anticipating is as we get into the game, it'll take a while. Man, this is really struggling. Let me see if that'd be really sad if, okay, it's speeding up a little bit. Anyway, I'm looking forward to being partway through the game and finally understanding things and starting to take more meaningful turns. turns that the designer would have expected me to take, if I'd known what I was doing. I'm looking forward to that feeling. Anyway, so somebody who's new to a game, they can look for that feeling. It takes some time, but especially people who are familiar with this process, they understand it's going to show up. But somebody who's like pretty resistant to games, pretty like they've got a lot of gaming trauma, there's so much more to get over. And part of it is, whatever they've brought in terms of what they think is going to go wrong, the fears they have about games, those things are going to show up. The fears they have about what games are going to highlight about them, right? So there's, I think, lots of reasons that people have this. I'll pull it up right now. I came up with a few things I think are often fuel for this type of resistance, which I think is associated with gaming trauma. I do think gaming trauma is real. I think just like anything, a category of experience that you've had a negative. If you've had a negative experience and you label it a certain way, so there's so many types of games, right? There's so many different possible experiences with games, and then you might say, well, I just don't like that kind of thing. I just don't like I don't like gaming after a couple of experiences with a couple of games. Well, gaming will be way more diverse than you've ever expected, but still you categorize a thing and you say, well, whatever it is, when there's components on a table and I'm sitting around it with some other people, that kind of experience I'm not interested in. So anyway, so I think this is real. I think people have had very negative experiences, or they have strong feelings, they don't know what to do. So I wrote down, I think, 3. When people don't like games, it looks like a few things are possible. And this is apart from just simply not being interested in the hobby, or in being interested in other hobbies. And that's something I've had to learn to be okay with. It's just the fact that like people have different preferences. But anyway, I'm still confident everybody can have some positive experience with games, just because gaming is so diverse. But here they have insecurities and identity issues around intelligence and performance. I've had that before. Nobody really loves looking stupid in front of a group of people when they are hoping to do well, to perform well, to hang with the group, kind of be an average performer with whatever it is you're interacting with. Like, who loves to get on a basketball court and they can't dribble? Who loves that? Maybe there are some interesting personalities who do. But you kind of want to be decent at whatever it is you're doing, right? Just so you can hang. Not that you can be great, but that you can kind of like be with it. Okay, so insecurities and identity issues around intelligence and performance. They don't like the feelings they have when they're learning something new, or when they let themselves get engaged. There's a really interesting thing about what happens when somebody actually gives it their all, or when they're really like locked in and they still don't do well. There's something like, it's almost like there's a kind of nice defense when you say, well, and when you try something and you don't do well, you get to say, well, you know what, I was never really into it in the first place. That's a really different situation than if you did your best and your best wasn't good enough. Like, that emotionally has a different type of impact, right? So this is the case with games. A lot of people will stay kind of on the edge. They're not, they don't want to look like they're, they come off as, I'm not really, like, I'm just treating this as a light casual experience. I'm not really engaged. Some of that, I think, is actually it can be just a positive attitude. Like, the stakes are really low, which they are with games. The stakes are low. But I think this can also operate like a defense mechanism, where somebody doesn't want to allow themselves to get engaged because they're afraid of what happens when they fail after they've given their all. Like, a lot of people, you can have a strong emotional reaction to that type of thing. So anyway, they anticipate the sort of feelings of failure, and they're willing to do what they need to avoid those feelings. Well, that was the second part of the example there. They don't like the feelings they have when they're learning something new. I noticed that, some of my friends that are the most gamery, or for some reason it stands out to me that the gamers, well, I don't know. There's lots of generalizations to make, but it seems to me that gamers are so often in the learning mode that it seems to attract people who are open to new experiences, meaning like they might be a little more willing to like take on risks or try something new, because for most of us, learning is uncomfortable, right? Like, because you have to admit to yourself you don't know what you're doing, and so that doesn't always feel good, especially as adults. Adults are often in situations where they've put in the work to become adept at something, for whatever reason. They've put a lot of energy into becoming proficient. And proficiency feels good for a few reasons. One is it's just like mastery, or being able to apply skills in the right way at the right time. That just feels good. It just feels good. Also, you get to stop looking like an idiot. That's like a big deal. Once you've reached a certain level of mastery, and you're kind of at, you're looking around and doing some little social comparison, and you realize you're good at what you're doing, or you're one of the best in the room at what you're doing, and that feels good. It feels good for various reasons, including it's nice to not be the new person in the office or whatever, right? To finally know what's going on, to know the systems, to know the routines, to know the expectations of people around you. Like that's way more comfortable. Well, what a game is asking us to do, for the most part, I mean, like I said, there's a lot of overlap, or like once you know games, you're kind of usually going to be able to absorb new systems, or systems that are just repackaged. You're probably going to be able to absorb them pretty quickly. But still, there's going to be some new element to the thing you're doing, and it's almost like, being new at a school. You just moved and you're in a new school, or you just started a new job. Something like that. It's almost like that feeling on a small scale. That here's this new thing, you don't really know how it works. You don't really know what it's asking you to do, but it's asking you to really, it's putting a lot of pressure on you right now. It's your turn. You need to make a decision. And anyway, that can feel like a lot of pressure to people. So it's easy to want to resist that feeling. Here's the spotlight, like this turn spotlight is shifting toward you. And now it's like your first or second turn of the game. And there's just like this huge board with tons of options. And you have no idea what would be the best move right now. So everybody's scrutinizing your choices and saying, "Oh yeah, if I was that person, I definitely wouldn't have done that." And or wow, she must be a moron for making that choice. Like, you just kind of, if you bring those insecurities to the game, you're gonna feel that stuff early on in the game because you don't know what you're doing, right? So anyway, so people have strong feelings. And one reason to avoid games is if you want to avoid those feelings. For most of us who play a lot of games, those feelings are not as big of a deal anymore. We know what the stakes are, and they're very low. We know what it's like to learn a new system. We know it's going to take repetition. We know it's going to take time. We know that. That's one reason why I like to be around really experienced gamers. They get that. So a lot of those insecurities are, they either don't show up in this type of experience. Maybe they have them in other areas. Or they just, I think they've learned some kind of resilience around new experiences. Just repositioning my fan a little bit. Okay, so that was the second thing. The other thing the last thing I listed here, is that they've had experiences with people who lost control at the table. This I actually know firsthand is the case for a friend of mine, that she's seen monsters come out of people. She's seen people turn into monsters at the table, and it really turns her off. And it makes sense to me too, because I've sat at the table with some of those same people, and I see them when they play games, and it's a type of play that I don't super enjoy. It's a style of play that I'm just not really excited about or into, like a really ultra competitive, really kind of trash talky, very edgy, like high stakes style. That's kind of how they play. And for me, that's not that fun. I just like to engage with the systems, see other people do interesting things, just like look for moments of like I said, like obtaining mastery or proficiency, like to understand how a system works. And so I think about the game really differently than some of these people. And it fully makes sense to me that if that's her main exposure to what it's like to play games with somebody, I get it. Like I would not, I don't like to be around people that I think treat the game as if it's more than it is. This is a game. It's a game. It's a chance to be together, to build memories together, to be impressed by each other's decision making, like and cleverness and stuff like that. Like we're here to have a nice time. And if somebody doesn't get that, if they don't play a game as if they don't play it as if we're here to have a nice time, I would rather play with other people. Like, So anyway, I can see somebody wanting to avoid the situation because they're afraid of the monsters at the table with them. Anyway, so there are lots of reasons why people will expect not to like games. So it's interesting when they sit down with you and this is a game that it's a type of game they've never seen before, or they're momentarily like open to this new type of experience, but they're still kind of like they've still got this front because now they've been resistant for so long. Anyway, this is where I started, right? The idea that here you've got this friend that's been resistant and now they're kind of having a good time, and so they feel like there's a little bit of a loss of face if they like act like they're having a good time. Well, it was interesting. I was playing last night. I swear I'm going to get to South Shore vibes here in a little bit. Was playing last night, and again, my favorite game is a game that fits the group well. And for the most part, my friends now know that I've got games with me, or even I went to their house last night with the awareness that there was a strong possibility we were going to play a game. And there's a difference in interest level for the most part, especially with certain types of games, between my two friends, married friends, Chris and Gabrielle, great people. I really enjoy spending time with them. And what's cool about hanging out with them is that, for some people, it's kind of like, all right, we ran out of stuff to talk about. Let's just go ahead and play a game. But for me, I can hang out with them and have just a really nice time. And if we can play a game too, that's great. So anyway, we got to that point when it was kind of time after dinner. It was time to transition to games. It was already a little bit late, maybe like 8:30. And I happened to have sea salt and paper in my game bag. So we we three played, and then another friend of ours, Anthony. Anthony lives in the same house. And when I'm talking about these people, these are real people, and these are their real names. So maybe I should be a little more careful about it. But anyway, Anthony, great guy. He hasn't played a lot of games. Chris and Gabrielle at this point have played quite a few. Chris I would consider Chris, like if he showed up a lot, for example, on Mondays, he used to come regularly. They both did at one point. But Chris is more of a gamer. He's kind of prone to analysis paralysis, and he's aware of that. So anyway, it's cool to see it's fun to play with him. He's very, very he's a guy that helped me learn to write rule books better because he's a really creative thinker and he's going to try to solve problems in a whole bunch of ways, including ways the designers did not intend. So it kind of looks like he wants to cheat or something like that. It's not quite like that, but he's got all these like questions of like, wait, what? Why does that option even make sense to you, kind of a thing? Like, how did you even think to abuse the system in that way, or to attempt to abuse the system in that way? So there's Chris. And anyway, Gabrielle, she's great. She likes playing games, but like especially when it's later on in the evening, and you know she's starting to get tired. She goes to bed pretty early, so she'll kind of lose that ability to engage, especially in a new game. You know, and this is the case for a lot of people. They'd rather play something they know, especially if they're tired, it's late, whatever. So so I knew Sea Salt and Paper was going to be new to both of them, and Anthony certainly hasn't played anything. Anthony is a funny character because he really hasn't played many games, and he's a little more resistant to games. He's played. I don't mean that seriously. Like he's willing. He's had a nice time with a couple of games, but he is one of those who's less comfortable at this point. Kind of an experience level thing. That's how I read it. But anyway, so I'm teaching the game, and I just love teaching new games. Interesting. Okay, so this person, the person who's been giving me information about going to the chapel. This is the one who's been warning me about leaving pretty early. So just give me 1 second here. I just forget my license plate. I think it's... Yeah, let me just find this really quick. I almost remembered it. I remembered a few of the elements. Okay. Okay, so anyway, so one Sea Salt and Paper is actually a really tricky game to teach. It's great. It's really fun because there's some really beautiful tension in the game. It's quite simple once people get going, and I know that. So the question as a teacher is, how can I set up... Oh, interesting. Oh, true. It's open base today. Okay. Okay. Okay, so the game has a bunch of different... It's almost like too much. Like, why'd you guys put so much in here? But it turns out to be great. There's these really fun layers to it. But it's one of those things. It's just, it feels a little overwhelming to hear how all these things are going to work. So I taught the game, and the point is, we just got to get through the teach, start taking some turns, and it's a really funny there's one little aspect of the game that kind of like I kind of wish it wasn't in there, but it does add to it, and that is if you play a couple of cards, they're called duos in the game. If you play this pair of cards, you get to steal a card from somebody. And so Anthony's funny because he doesn't see himself as the type of person who would steal from other people. And fair enough, that's good. But anyway, it's part of the game. It's built into the game. So what I believe when we're playing games is the game is inviting you to play a character. When you're sitting at the table playing a game, that is not you playing the game. The game is redefining all the rules and asking you to be the type of person that would play this game well. So what is that type of person? What sort of character plays this game well? Well, in the case of Sea Salt and Paper, it's the type of person that would steal a card from somebody else. That actually is pretty important sometimes. So anyway, so at first he was pretty like resistant to it. And I think some of it is just like, this, like kind of a difference in understanding of like, of what we're like, who we are when we're playing games. And also I believe, and this was actually not my assessment, but it was the assessment of one of the other two players, is that he doesn't really, he may have an experience from gaming, which is something like people get upset if you steal from them. So it's possible that he's played with pretty emotionally fragile people, and so he's bringing that memory to our situation, right? People who just kind of don't get that it's just a game and they get upset and whatever, they get salty. And Chris, actually, it's funny because Chris did get a little bit salty. People are stealing from him, and they get that. They're a little bit kind of playful in an edgy way sometimes. He and Gabrielle, but it was interesting that at first Anthony was pretty resistant to stealing, but it's like part of the game, and it was kind of also interesting to see him kind of realize that it was an important aspect and that everybody was going to be fine even if he stole from them, and that's a really important thing to see. Yeah, it's important for somebody who's new to games to see that other people are going to be okay even if there's an interaction like that in the game. Now, some people are not okay when there's that type of interaction. In fact, there are whole categories of games people will not play because, again, they don't like the feelings they have when they play those games. Some people, if they're not ready to get stolen from, they'll choose a different game. They don't like they don't like that kind of gotcha. We call it take that. They don't. Well, you take that. Take that. I'm gonna steal your card. Oh, you got me. I'm gonna get you back. Take that. That's like a kind of category of games that people will talk about as take that games, where you're stealing sets from people, or you're breaking up the thing they worked on, or whatever it is. So some people will literally just walk away from the table if they learn that a game has take that elements. So that's a real thing. Anyway, so it was cool to see Anthony warm up to this, to this mechanic in the game, because in some I don't know what the deep if there's a deep aspect to it, but for me, what it looks like is building trust. That actually we can make it through. You can steal from me, and I am gonna be okay. Like I know, I know you don't hate me. I know you're not a thief. Just play the game. Play the game and you'll be fine. Anyway, that was kind of cool to see. Even if I don't really like those aspects in games either, it was still cool to see him get comfortable with the mechanics, with the game as it was designed. Anyway, it was cool. And the group really liked it. Gabrielle even really liked it. I assume Chris is going to like most games. He doesn't like all games, but to see Gabrielle get excited and, want to get the game on the list of games to buy, that to me is the victory. That means I won the game. If somebody likes a game and in a very short amount of time understands the game and likes it so much that they put it on a list of things that they want to add to the things they own, right? Like that, to me, I won. I won last night, even though I definitely did not win last night. but I won because they liked the game. So anyway, let me work on South Shore vibes for a while. See, that's what's fun about these little streams. Is I never know what's gonna happen here. Why in the world? See, I don't know sometimes how these got aligned, and I noticed like they just look like really, yeah, like the spacing where I put them in the little squares, like it just doesn't work. I don't know why I did that in the first place. Okay, so a couple little concrete goals here. I would like to get back to this and kind of testing whether this makes sense, but first what I'm going to do is just lay out this area again. Oh, this needs to be up on this. Yeah, this needs to be included here on this track. Right? Yeah, so one good thing, I mean, and just another helpful thing is like by moving this track off of it's just more space now by moving the VP track. The other thing was, I think Aaron made a good point, which is it's kind of nice to know how other people are doing in the game. Right? That makes sense, doesn't it? So, yeah, now they'll have just a clearer idea of where everybody is. So, good point. But there's also more breathing room here on the personal. Yeah, this the game sheet, the player mat. You know what? I'm not convinced that these mini games are like the best. I don't think they're really that. They're not super interesting. They're not that fun, but they're just little puzzles that maybe keep your attention for a little bit. What did I want to do? I kind of wanted to. Oh, you know what? I had a thought to. I had a thought to change up what's going on with these fish, because the thing is, it'd be nice to offer some true choices to people. Hang on, I'm just finishing the little discussion with this guy. Yeah, this is one of my least favorite things, is showing up to a place like super early, so I'm just kind of sitting around doing nothing. So I need to think of some stuff I can do while I'm over there. Because I'll end this in about 20 minutes. I'm going to have a quick breakfast by 8:15. Yeah. I have a feeling I'm just going to cruise through that, and that would be kind of sad because I think, like, I plan to be there at 9:30, and that's already like too much time to practice music for some people. So not really looking forward to this. Okay, anyway, Okay, so one thing I wanted to do with these fish is forget the rounds, because the thing is, there's no true choice here. You know, it's obvious that you're going to go for the biggest fish. And if you don't get there, well, that's too bad. You just didn't roll well. But it's not that you didn't want to get there. It's not that you were it's not that you were choosing between, you know, some viable options. You just didn't roll what you wanted to roll. So what I want to do instead, so I have these three 4-die fish. It's kind of a weird thing to talk about. That's not what I wanted to do. So I have these 3 4-die fish. 4-dice fish. Yeah, what is going on with this speed? I'm gonna need a speed test here. Wow, I'm getting like 85 megabits per second. And I'm downloading and I'm uploading at 28 megabits per second. So I want to say, what in the world? Yeah, sorry, 1 second. Yeah, so I guess it may be a little challenging to get to the actual chapel once I get on base. Okay, so I have these 3 fish. So I think I'm going to forget the rounds. The rounds are not important at all in this case. So get rid of the rounds. But what I want to do, so these fish are going to be, these are always available. Yeah, that guy was awake, or that guy was letting us know he was in the area at like 4:30 yesterday morning. Yikes. It's funny, Twitch. I just don't believe there's this actual viewer. There's not a and I do get I'm getting this like spam stuff from Twitch as well. That's not disruptive at all, is it? Okay, so I had this idea to have these bigger fish actually give these need to be grouped. I'm surprised they weren't grouped before. Okay. Okay, I'm gonna give them I guess this doesn't need to be here. This does not, yeah, this does not need to be here. The poke stand, because what I can do is I can just attach the values to, yeah, this is what I'm gonna do. I'm just gonna attach the values to the fish themselves. So this is gonna be the first adjustment. So definitely, oh, okay. bro, go somewhere else. It's the same thing. Oh, what happened here? What was this? What in the world? What happened? Oh. Okay, yeah. This is also not a true choice. I think I need some other ideas here. Yeah. Anyway, I'll come back to that. You'll know you'll see what I'm talking about in a little bit. Okay, so the first thing is we can do something like this. Like these guys are just worth 5 money, for example. Right? So let me group these. I'll do a little bit of okay. So this one's just worth 5 money. Okay, cool. Good looking fish. Okay, bro. This one, let's say this one is worth 5 money. No, this guy can be worth he's always gonna want to go money here. Let me bring in some shakas from down here, because this is what I'm thinking. So you can aim for I guess I actually need this as well. Yes, they're always going to be worth money in this case. This is like the reverse of down here. So maybe these don't need to be worth any money anymore. I can like build it into What I'm attempting to do is create some tension for the fact that you actually might want a certain fish now, rather than just any big fish. Now you might want a certain big fish, right? Okay, so this is obviously not going to be 7, but it could be 1, right? So this could be 4 and 1. Or yeah, this is the kind of the issue. It's that because this is not really a currency, so I wouldn't ever add one of these. Interesting though. Interesting. Interesting. So there actually could be a situation where I could make like a big fish and I could add a stamina. That actually sounds kind of interesting. I'm actually going to try this.
It looks like your Wi-Fi name or password has changed. To update your Wi-Fi information, go to the Alexa app.
No thanks. Okay, so I'm going to make this a super long fish. Just going to try it. You know, I saw a dead rooster on my walk down to the game store last week. And it makes a lot of sense to me. Somebody just got fed up. Somebody just said, okay, this guy has got to go. Somebody just said it. They made it happen. Okay, I think 5 money is probably too much, right? So I'll go 4 money. I don't know. I can always adjust the values. I feel like this might be too. Oops. Okay, 4 money, 2 shakas for that little guy. And now let's add. Let's try adding a stamina for a big fish. You know, ideally you wouldn't need something like this because you're... I mean, stamina is a really big deal. Stamina is a really, really big deal. So... But I like this. I like this a lot. And this guy can just be worth 5 money, right? Okay, we can center these guys. Center this guy. So this is cool because now you can kind of, there's some overlap here, so you can sort of aim for one or the other in a sense, but you're really going to need to I like it. I like what's going on here. Let me change how this sits in here. Because I mean, my hope is that eventually during the game, you really don't need to play these mini games. Let's see what this guy says. It's going to be a fiasco, but we are trying. That's what he said. Okay. So I'm wrapping up in a few minutes. I do need to head out here, but I'm pretty excited about this. What just happened? This this possibility that, you know, sometimes you want money and something else. So that is, for me, this is starting to feel like there's more of a choice here, right? There's more of a choice. And I think what this also means is that what's going on there? Let me see if can my carrier throttle my hotspot? Yes. Yeah. Well, am I still getting, is it still slow? It is. Yeah, well, maybe I've used a ton of data. Let me see. Cuz my phone, the phone itself is going insanely fast, right? But I wonder if there will be a message or if they just do it. Cuz what I'm going to check to see what sort of data I've used. No. $91 gigs. Is that a lot? I guess it is a lot. I wonder if I can see how much I've used on my account. This says I've used 250 gigs. So I wonder if when I passed 250, they throttled my hotspot. That'd be unfortunate because there's still a lot of the month left. But I suspect that's the kind of thing that just happened. Oh, bummer. Okay, well I like what's going on here. So so to kind of do something similar for each fish, this would be a 1-in-1 now. But so like all the fish are pretty good, but they're different, right? And I don't have a great way. Oh, I guess I should have done this one. I don't have any other currency. I mean, I could do victory points, but I don't know if I really want to do that. I could have another big fish that just gives points, but like the points are coming from surfing. There's a lot of points in surfing. So to give points with the fish, I kind of liked it as an idea early on, like that you could take points or money, but like money, like the upgrades should be worth playing the game for. So I think that's why playing the mini game, it should be about the upgrades, right? And now here at least there are shakas involved, so it could be 1-in-1. So like this is kind of cool, right? And then what are these guys going to be? Okay. Like what should the threes be? So they can be 3 and 1 or 4. Right? That's pretty much the pattern I've got going here. Shoot. Oh, wait. I can just copy this guy. So I can just do like this. So this will be the 4 guy. And hopefully what this feels like is a little bit more of a choice, right? It's a little bit more of a choice. So this is going to be 3 and 1. Yeah. Let's bring this fish over here. Good. Okay. So it's cool because it's now like each fish has its own little, almost like its own little personality. That's not exactly the word that I would like to be using right there, but they at least have their own little different payouts, right? Yeah, I think that's a lot better. Now the question is how to get these upgrades to make them a true choice. That's the question. So I like this a lot, actually. I really do. And that, like I said, I can also get rid of this extra stuff here. So I can move the money right here, over here. I can bring the upgrades down. Right, I can bring the fish down a little bit. Bring this down a little bit. I could resize. That could definitely be a thing that happens. And these guys could get a little bigger too. Right? Okay, well, I'm over an hour here. I've enjoyed making some of these changes. I'm excited about some of them. Make all of these tracks just a little bit bigger. Yeah, nice idea letting things breathe a little more. I think it looks better. I think it'll be easier to interact with. I really like how these fish are different. So it'll actually feel like you're catching something a little different. I wonder if 6 money. Well, anyway, yeah, I got other things to do. Thanks for joining. I'm really hoping that the stream situation is not what I think it is, but maybe hoping for the best on that. I'd really like to continue being able to use my phone as my phone's hotspot, but it looks like that may not be the case. Anyway, have a great Sunday. Yeah, looking forward to attempting this tomorrow morning when it really matters, when I actually have to, when I can't nap during the day because I'm at school. Anyway, okay, that's it for me. I will see you soon.